Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today is a very exciting video. I decided I wanted to talk about my best media of the year. So TV shows, movies, and I thought I would bring up some music as well. I know I don't generally talk about music here on my channel, but let's talk about some of my favorite albums of the year. But first, I have 5 movies to talk about, and we'll talk about them in the order that I watched them. And we'll talk about my favorite one last. And if you are a watcher of my channel, then you probably know what movie is going to be my favorite. The beginning of the year, last year, obviously, Saltburn came out, and I watched it just like everybody else. And this is basically a thriller about a guy who weasels his way into this really rich family, and he's like obsessed with the older son who he went to college with, and they become like best friends, and he has weird relationship dynamics with like pretty much everybody in the family, and like people start dying and stuff. It's very, very, very good. I like this plot. The main actor is not afraid to do some weird shit. I heard that a lot of the stuff that he did was like improvised, and it just makes the whole thing that much more creepy and weird and like good, and I really, really liked it. It's pretty long, and there were definitely parts of it where I could feel the length of the movie. The acting is fantastic. I loved the setting. I love like rich people shit. And yeah, it was just a good movie. Now, I will say I have since watched tons of things that imply, not so subtly, that this movie kind of rips off like even dialogue and stuff from other movies, with very similar plots. So take with that what you will, but the movie is fantastic. And then I also, around the same time, watched Poor Things. Very interesting movie. The lead actress, Emma Stone, is like the entire reason that I watched the movie, to be honest. Is like a Frankenstein's monster situation. Her maker is this renowned scientist who is trying to like these different beings, and he creates her using a brain. She starts out with the like mental capacity of a toddler or like a newborn, and she very rapidly grows. Like, she's in Emma Stone's body, like she's in an adult woman's body, and she very rapidly starts growing. She wants to have adventure. She wants to explore the world, and so she goes off on her own, goes off with this guy who she meets and kind of thinks that she's in love with, and she has this whole like life and adventure on her own, and it's fucking fantastic. The shots, the actual like cinematography of the movie is stunning. Emma Stone, this is the best movie that I've ever seen Emma Stone in. I think she's a great actress. She's been in a lot of stuff and done really well, but this is definitely her best movie in my opinion. The acting of all of the people in the film, the use of color theory was impeccable. Like, you could tell that this director just knows how to shoot scenes and have them be as impactful as possible. And watching Emma Stone's character grow and learn about the world and her place in it, and depression, and all of these very human and nuanced things, watching her experience them and form her own opinions was really good. The movie itself, very, very good. Definitely like my second favorite movie of the year. It was going to be my favorite movie of the year if I hadn't seen the one that is my favorite. But very stunning. I think if you're like an art house fan, if you like the more artsy movies, then you'll enjoy this one as well. So then I watched Encanto. This is a Disney movie, and it's about a girl who comes from a family of people with magic. She is the only one in her family that doesn't have any magic. Their magical mansion starts falling apart, and it starts to die. So she goes on this adventure to figure out why their house is dying and what's going on with the family and why people are like losing magic. None of her family members believe her, so she has to seek out an uncle that had visions, and he was kind of like exiled from the family and the village because they think that he was causing things to happen, not just like seeing them, but any vision that he had, it came true. And so they kind of attributed those bad things to his presence. And so she has to seek him down and figure out what is going on with their family. This movie is stunning. It's one of the best movies, one of the best Disney movies that I have seen in years. I loved the musical numbers, the bright colors, the character work was fantastic. I liked the musical numbers because they're very fun and upbeat, but at the heart of them, they speak to people's roles in their families and how family dynamics and expectations can stifle you as a person, and trying to figure out where you fit in with your family and what your role is, and accepting your family members despite what you may have wanted for them. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, nobody is a villain. Everybody is just doing what they think is best for the people they love. And it was incredible. It's incredible. It's definitely, it doesn't follow the typical, like, Disney movie beats, which I really appreciate. Like, the rewatchability on the movie is incredible. And yeah, I really loved it. And then, finally, the actual top movie of the year, the best movie that I have ever seen, one of the best movies I have ever seen, top 5 movies of all time, and that is Wicked. Now, this came out like 2 weeks ago, the time that I'm filming this, and it was incredible. It catapulted into my top favorite movies of all time. For some context, I'm a musical theater kid. I love musicals. I've loved them my whole life. I've been in the theater life since I was a kid, and I was so freaking excited for Wicked, and it did not disappoint. I sobbed 5 separate times, and then the last 15 minutes of the movie, I could not stop crying. The production value for this movie was obviously off the charts. Like, the budget was massive, and the setting and the score and the acting was astounding. But what really set it over the edge was Cynthia Erivo's performance. Her voice is so powerful, so strong. It's incredibly hard not to feel emotional when she's singing these really powerful songs. And there's this one scene that I was sobbing so hard at that I had to curl myself into the theater seat because there was people on either side of me. And I was just sobbing. Obviously, Ariana Grande's performance and everybody else's performance was really strong. And I think Ariana Grande brought a level of understanding to Galinda that can sometimes be missed. I feel like she understood Galinda's character really well, but Elphaba was just something else, next tier amazing. I loved it so much. It's such a stunning movie, and I urge anybody to watch it. I think anybody that doesn't absolutely hate musicals would really love it. I cannot wait to watch it again. Nope. Okay, we're gonna say Wicked, best movie of the year for sure. Best movie probably of the last 10 years, and maybe 10 more to come. Well, part 2 comes out next November, so we'll see. Let's talk about the best TV shows. And again, I'll talk about my favorite last, but we'll talk about The Mole and The Challenge. I tend to watch reality TV shows with my partner at night. We are reality TV show people, and we started watching The Mole, and we pretty much watched all 3 seasons, back to back. People that are trying to make it to the end, working together for challenges and stuff, and there's one person who's actively trying to steal money from the group, and if the mole makes it all the way to the end without being caught, then nobody gets the money. The show itself is so good. not only the social like politics of the game, because there's so many different ways as the mole that you could tackle the role, like so many different strategies, and the strategies can change so much. The thing that I loved about this show is you never really know. Like, you can think you know, and then someone does something like the next episode where it's like, but wait. So there's just so much going on, and depending on how your own brain works, like, you're gonna have your own idea in mind of who's gonna be the mole. And the challenges are so high budget and sometimes a little bit crazy, and it's a very very good reality TV show. I knew one of the moles, and then I kind of guessed the other two at the end, but I didn't know up until the last 10 minutes of the last episodes like who the mole really was. I guessed correctly the first time. Like, in the beginning, my partner and I were like, let's just guess who we think it's gonna be after the initial interviews, and I guessed randomly, and I ended up being right, but I didn't think it was that person for a majority of the season. I was like, I hope it's that person because I guessed that person, but I didn't really think it was them. And yeah, it's an incredible, it's a great reality TV show. And so is The Challenge. We started watching this, I think last year we discovered it. We watched Survivor, Amazing Race, and all of that, MasterChef, Hell's Kitchen, all of those reality shows. And we came across an ad for The Challenge when it was the Challenge USA or whatever, where it had the Survivor people on it. We started watching it, and we realized that The Challenge is Road Rules. It's Real World meets Road Rules, and they basically just changed the name. And it has a ton of people that used to compete back in the day, but it's essentially a bunch of people in a different place in this mansion, partying and all of that, and then during the day they do these crazy intense challenges, and obviously the people that get to the end, you race to see who wins. I love this show. The challenges are insane. Some of the things that they do, I'm like, yeah, I could never. We like to pretend if we went on the show, oh, I could do this, oh, I could do this, we could beat them at this, that kind of thing. As an observer sitting on my couch, I'm fully believing that I can do this stuff that they do. But yeah, it's incredible to watch them do stuff. And the buff mummies on this show, wow. There's some women on there that I'm yeah, Battle of the Eras has Kyland, who is autistic, and he's such a cutie pie, and I'm rooting for him. Him and Cara Maria. They're my two favorites. So if you're a fan of reality challenge shows, I would recommend it. There's some questionable people up there for sure. But the challenges are crazy, and the things that they make them do are wild, and it's an all-out brawl sometimes, which is fun. Another favorite is an anime. It's Jujutsu Kaisen. The newest season came out this year. I think it was the beginning of the year, I think, or maybe it was last year and I just finished it the beginning of this year, but I watched, I think it's the second season. I love Jujutsu Kaisen. It's one of my favorite animes. It's incredibly well done. I know that down the road, just based on the things that are going on in the manga, that it's not going to be the best. But right now, it's incredible. The work that is done for Itadori's character is so well done. And the second season almost made me cry. There's this thing that happens at the end of the second season, and the impact that it has on the character is so big. The guilt and the shame and the things that character will have to live with the rest of their lives is so immense that it made me almost cry. And the anime itself is fantastic. The animation, the music, it has some of the best anime intros I've ever seen. I love the characters so much, and I'm just hoping that some of the things that go on in the manga don't happen in the anime towards the end, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, the new season of Bridgerton, I loved. I do think that Colin is a little bit of a bitch in this season, and in general, but Penelope's amazing. I love Penelope so much. And this show just like blows all the other shows out of the water. Obviously, like, the budget and stuff is insane, but I love the Bridgerton family. I love watching all of their stories together. I like the like world that they've created, and I'm a romance girl, so I adore. And then lastly, my best TV show of the year is 1000,000,000,000% The Three Body Problem. This is a sci-fi show. It is like first contact with aliens sort of show. Follows a group of scientists who are slowly dying out, figuring out what's going on, and it's very, very, very well done. I loved the way that like little snippets were released and like given to the viewer, and how the characters figured out what's really going on. And I'm so interested in the continuation of the story. It's based on books, and I've debated reading the books, but I don't know if I want to read the books. But the show is very well done. The acting is great. There's like one storyline that I wasn't the biggest fan of, but overall, the like sci-fi elements and like the mystery of what these beings are doing, and like all of it is so fascinating, and I think it laid the groundwork for coming seasons very well. And I can tell that the original like source material was just like so well thought out. The last two things that I wanted to talk about were my favorite albums of the year and my favorite podcast of the year. We'll start with podcasters because there's only two of them. This segment's going to be a little short and sweet because not like a music person, and I don't listen to a ton of podcasts, so I don't know like the lingo to use to review them. But I started re-listening to Star Talk. This is hosted by Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is all about like space, and I'm a space fan. So Neil deGrasse Tyson is obviously a genius, and he explains things in a very digestible way. And I love the like diversity of the episodes and like the topics and stuff. I find the podcast to be very educational and fun. And then I also have been listening on and off to Pop Psych 101 throughout the years. I discovered this podcast a couple of years ago, I think, and I just occasionally listen to some episodes here and there. It's basically Pop Psych. It's like psychology, but to do with like pop culture. So they go through like movies, TV shows, books occasionally that have to do with some sort of psychology thing. So like PTSD or complex trauma or anxiety, depression, stuff like that. And again, huge psychology fan, and I enjoy listening and like learning about these popular shows and like where they go wrong and what they do right, and truth, I guess, behind these different things and how they show up in people's lives. And it's very good. It's very entertaining, and I really like both of these. I think they're good educational podcasts without being really pretentious and like boring to listen to, which I appreciate. And then favorite albums of the year. First off, this is in like no particular order, but Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. I think everybody really loved this one. It's sexy, it's funny. I love the different sounds of each song. My favorite song is Bedchem, but I really like Espresso. I like Juno. I love Good Graces, Sharpest Tool, Dumb and Poetic. Those are just like some of the ones that I like to re-listen to. The whole album is very good, and I think along with everybody else, I'm in love with Sabrina Carpenter. So, love that album. Then we have Popular Monsters by Falling in Reverse. Ronnie is on such a big like arc with his music and like the band's music, and they're so incredibly talented. And this album is amazing. Specifically, Voices in My Head and Prequel. The whole album is really, really good. The only one I don't like is Zombified. There's just so many incredible songs, and Ronnie is just so talented. It's crazy. And then we have Unreal Unearth by Hozier. I was never like a Hozier fan until like the last couple of years. I think he actually came out with 2 albums this year, and both of them were absolutely stunning. I obviously like Too Sweet. I listened to Too Sweet a ton this year, but a good portion of the Unreal Unearth album is really, really good. Might Delete Later by J. Cole is also a very good album. J. Cole is like one of my favorite artists, and I was eagerly awaiting a new album from him. He's like one of my favorite rappers of all time. The new album has some real like actual bangers on it, like Jam in Your Car, and then there's some that just like hit, that hit the heart. And I was like going back through his old albums, and For Your Eyes Only is so good. It's so good. It also has some incredible like heart-wrenching songs. And then my other favorite album of the year, it's actually from 2022, but I was like listening more to it this year, and it also has some very heart-wrenching songs and also some like Jam in Your Car songs, and that is Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers by Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick is in my top 5 of all time. I need to listen to his new album, GNX, that just came out. Mr. Morale has some like songs that'll just like make you cry in your car, like driving to work and you're crying. It has some really good ones, a lot of grief and mental health, and very, very good. Kendrick, I think, is underappreciated sometimes. Obviously, with like the whole Drake thing going on, a lot of people are like discovering Kendrick if they didn't know who he was before, but definitely one of the best. Not for everybody, I don't think. Like, I think a lot of people that like rap don't like Kendrick's style, but his songs just like hit on a whole other level. It's like my best media of the year for 2024. I obviously don't know if GNX is going to be like on this list, but it could be. But these are like all of my favorite things that I've had, watched, listened to, all of that. A favorite books of the year video is going to come on its own. Should be like the week after this has been posted or something like that. But if you're interested in that, that will be coming up. But I would love to talk down below your favorite media of the year. If you've watched some TV shows and movies that you've really, really loved, I would love to hear it. Other than that, please consider subscribing if you want to see more content like this. Check out my backlist if you're looking for more videos. All of my social medias are linked down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.